Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty radical blueprint for government, a thought experiment that asks a simple question. What if we treated governing like the high stakes technical profession it actually is?
Okay, let's just think about this for a second. You would never, ever choose your airline pilot based on how charismatic they are or the promises they make, right? You demand thousands of flight hours, technical certifications, real expertise. So, why do we accept a completely different standard for the people steering the entire ship of state?
And that really gets to the core principle of this theoretical model we're looking at today. The idea is that governing isn't a right you're born with or something you win in a popularity contest. No, it's a technical profession with incredibly high stakes. So, how do you build a system like that? Well, the proposed solution starts by creating a totally new kind of public servant, and they're all trained in a unique, sealed institution, the National Academy.
This academy is a closed circuit. What that means is it's the one and only path to a career in public administration. The goal is to get rid of so-called diploma mills and completely eliminate outside influence. Think of it like a military academy, but for running a country. Getting in is designed to be tough and, more importantly, incorruptible. Entry is based purely on merit through double-blind exams. It doesn't matter who you are or who you know. And if you try to cheat the system, you're banned from public service for life. No second chances. And once you're in, your authority is unlocked step by step. You have to prove yourself through academic and technical mastery. You start with a bachelor's, which lets you work in city government. Want to move up to the state level? You'll need a master's. And to even be considered for national administration, a doctorate is mandatory. You have to climb the ladder.
Now, here's the crucial point. There's a huge sacrifice. To ensure they remain completely neutral operators of the state, graduates permanently give up their right to vote and their right to ever serve in the legislature. They become technical experts who execute policy, not political players who create it. Okay, so that's the administrators. But how does a system like this choose its highest leader, the national rector? Well, it's definitely not a typical election.
It's a rigorous, multi-stage process designed to filter for different things at each step. First is the integrity filter. The judiciary picks 9 candidates based strictly on their competence and a proven track record of honesty. Then comes the identity filter, where the people's representatives narrow that list from 9 down to 5, making sure the choices align with the nation's general preferences. And finally, the pragmatism filter, where regional representatives make the final vote to ensure a broad consensus.
And get this, they even built in a hard-coded rule to prevent the consolidation of power. The vice rector, the second in command, is blocked from being a candidate in the next cycle. It's a simple rule designed to stop political dynasties before they can even start. A system this powerful obviously needs some powerful checks and balances. So how are its leaders held accountable? This is where the idea of radical accountability comes in.
What's really interesting here is the concept of zero immunity. If a public works project fails because of your technical negligence, the consequence isn't just getting voted out of office. You could face direct criminal liability. Technical failure has real, personal consequences. This chart just brilliantly illustrates that fundamental shift. You're moving away from accountability based on winning an election every few years to a system based on real-time, data-driven performance. It's not about political survival. It's about tangible responsibility. And how is that performance measured? By hard data. We're talking key performance indicators, or KPIs. Things like GDP growth per capita, crime reduction rates, how fast the courts are working. Leaders are evaluated by these numbers, not by rhetoric or public opinion polls. Okay, but what about a real crisis? A moment of extreme systemic failure or an existential threat to the nation itself? The system has a built-in emergency protocol for just that. It's called the Roman Dictator Protocol. In a true existential threat, the rector can assume absolute command for 30 days. It's an immense grant of power, but, and this is key, it comes with an equally immense and totally unavoidable post-mortem audit the second those 30 days are up. And the outcome of that audit is pretty black and white. If the rector's actions were justified by necessity and saved the nation, they're honored for their service. But if it's found they abused that power, they face life imprisonment or what's called civic death. The consequences are so severe that the protocol would only be used in the most dire circumstances imaginable. So what's the core idea here?
What's the guiding philosophy that holds this entire complex structure together?
Well, the leader is framed not as a king, but as the central processing unit of the nation. They're a servant to the system, their power is limited by code, and whether they get to keep their job depends solely on efficiency and results.
This final analogy really helps explain that division of roles. Think of it like a giant ship's navigation software. The citizens, through their representatives, get to choose the destination, but only the certified experts who spent years studying at the academy are allowed to touch the helm and actually pilot the ship. Right, but what happens if that expert pilot tries to hijack the ship? What if they try to divert it for their own personal gain? This model has one final, critical safeguard against that kind of tyranny. The judicial branch acts as the ultimate kill switch. You could think of them as the system's sensors. If they detect a rogue executive, they are designed to shut down the engine immediately, based on evidence, not politics.
And that is the system's provocative final message. It asks us to place our trust not in charisma, not in promises, but in a transparent, auditable code. Do not believe in them, audit them.